Kyle Shanahan this week was asked about Odell Beckham Jr. being available in the free agency market, and he had some very interesting things to say, which kind of furthers the heat behind OBJ maybe coming to the Bay Area and signing with the Niners in free agency. So first, this really started with what Adam Schefter had to say about Odell Beckham Jr. on the Pat McAfee show. And we talked about this earlier this week, but for those of you who missed it, let's circle back to what Schefty of ESPN had to say about OBJ, who's still available on the free agency market. Why would the 49ers not look at Odell Beckham Jr. is what he said. They were interested in him last year. I think he'd like to be in Los Angeles, but they could certainly, the 49ers could, use another wide receiver. They've had a lot of injuries, and to me, that's an intriguing match, and we'll find out if the two sides feel the same way that we all do. And think about it from this way, right? If Odell Beckham Jr. were to sign with the Niners, he'd basically be taking away the slot wide receiver snaps from Jauan Jennings, who this year has been really good on some of the money downs like he was last year, but he's also dropped about 20% of his targets. Now, that's a little bit of a misleading number because he hasn't been targeted all that much, but he does have a drop issue, and Odell Beckham Jr. has been a really productive wide receiver for a long time, and I don't want to see him taking away snaps on the outside at that X spot from Brandon Ayuk, who I think is one of the more under-talked about and underrated wide receivers in the NFL, or Deebo Samuel. You put Odell Beckham Jr. in the slot, he's going to be matched up pretty frequently against opposing linebackers, and he could feast on those guys who are a lot slower than him, even though he's coming off that torn ACL and rehabilitating that right now. So Dan Graziano did report that OBJ might not be available until December because he did tear his ACL in that Super Bowl game against the Cincinnati Bengals. When he was with the Rams back half of the season, he was starting to ball out as he had a nice little rapport with Matthew Stafford. And because he has the resume that he does, and because he's a polarizing figure, multiple teams are linked to him in NFL free agency. The Green Bay Packers, they couldn't bring in Chase Claypool at the NFL trade deadline. The New York Giants are also very, very thin at that wide receiver spot. And we know that OBJ, like he did last year, would probably prefer to go to another Super Bowl contender. And a lot of people have said that OBJ isn't a good cultural fit. Sean McVay and the Rams could not rave about him enough with what he brought to the locker room. And at the end of the day, this dude's a baller, and he's proven that for a really long time. Injury prone, yes, but when he was on the field last year with an actual good quarterback as compared to Baker Mayfield, I thought that OBJ did play really well. As for what Kyle Shanahan said this week about the OBJ buzz, this is very, very interesting here. We are open to discussions with everybody, Shanahan said. We look into everything. You don't have to worry about the trade deadline with him because he's out there and he's available. I've always been a fan of Odell, like I feel like most people are. He's that good of a player, but I'm definitely very happy with our receiver group right now, and I love the wide receivers that we have. So Shanahan not necessarily closing the door on Odell Beckham Jr., leaving the door open, although I do think it is a slight possibility that he's rocking the scarlet, red, and gold. If OBJ does sign with the Niners, or if another move happens, if there's a juicy rumor out there or a news item that we have to bring you, that's what we do, and that's how we live here on the 49ers Report. So if you want to grow the faithful family here at Chat Sports and join the largest Niners news and rumors channel on YouTube with videos coming your way every single day with informative, entertaining analysis year-round, lock us in and hit that red subscribe button. As for what OBJ has been able to do the last 4 years, what he did to start his career with the New York Football Giants was historic. The numbers that he was putting up with New York were just filthy. And, of course, injury issues have reared its ugly head with OBJ, but the production has still been there in recent years. 2018, 2019 still surpassed the 1,000-yard mark. And in 2020, injury-plagued season for him. And then last year with the Cleveland Browns, he just didn't get along with Baker Mayfield. But once he came to the Los Angeles Rams, that's when he really started to pick it up. And then in the NFL playoffs, I thought that he was one of the more dynamic weapons left in the big dance at the time. And his number's still pretty good. 44 catches in 2021, 537 yards, average yards per catch north of 12 with 5 touchdowns. And my read here, there's a chance it could happen. I think it's more likely that OBJ comes in if there's an injury at that wide receiver spot. I think the Niners are set at wide receiver. I like Jauan Jennings, but if you could pick a slot wide receiver between him and OBJ, of course, you're going to go with OBJ. And the 49ers have showed themselves, the team, the fan base, that they are all in on chasing a championship this year. By trading for Christian McCaffrey, they have sent a message to the rest of the National Football League, the NFC West, and to their locker room. They believe that with the roster constructed the way that it is, they can compete for another Lombardi trophy. And this would give Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch their most stacked offense that this regime has had since they took over in the Bay going back to 2017. George Kittle at tight end, OBJ as your wide receiver 3, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey as your back. You could get away with average to mediocre quarterback play because you have so many weapons, and it would give Jimmy Garoppolo at his disposal an endless amount of options. So let's pose this question again like we did the other day. Should the Niners sign Odell Beckham Jr.? OBJ for yes, NOBJ for no. Let us know. Embrace debate and sound off. Be the general manager right now in the comment section. Coming up next on the show, some really important Niners news as they progress here during the regular season, go into the bye week for the stretch run that we hope ends in a playoff appearance, an NFC West title, an NFC title, and a Super Bowl championship. First, though, shout out to our brand new sponsor, Established Titles. Trees for the future. That is their motto. And our 49ers Report family is already worldwide with people watching from all across the globe. Now we can all come together to become landowners in Scotland and start our own 49ers empire. You see this land on your screen here? You can get a plot of it for a very affordable price if you head to establishedtitles.com/chat. What is it? A fun way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping global reforestation efforts. It's a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners, if you purchase a plot of land, are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English. And if you do buy a plot of land, a tree will be planted across the globe with your purchase. Title packs give you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land with a unique plot number on a private estate in Scotland and an official certificate that we showed you right here on your screen with a crest. And you can include the title of Lord or Lady on your credit card, plane tickets, dating profiles, and more. It makes for a great last-minute gift. Now, they have some phenomenal deals on their website right now, but if you head to establishedtitles.com/chat and use the promo code chat, you save an extra 10% off. Don't forget, holiday season is coming up right around the corner. Get your land in Scotland today and help our great environment. Okay, are the 49ers getting healthier and healthier as the season gets deeper and deeper? San Francisco could be reloading after the bye week, getting a lot of injured players back. Kyle Shanahan talking about this week, and these are all of the players who could return in 2 weeks against the Los Angeles Chargers. Big names here, folks. Deebo Samuel, Kyle Juszczyk, Elijah Mitchell, Jauan Jennings, Arik Armstead, Azeez Al-Shaair, Dre Greenlaw, Jordan Willis, Javon Kinlaw, Jason Verrett. All of those guys, that gets up to 10 players in reinforcements that the Niners could get back. And maybe this is why they didn't make a move on NFL trade deadline day outside of the McCaffrey deal a week and a half ago because they realized, look, we have a lot of good players who are coming in here that basically serve the purpose of a trade. Kyle Shanahan on his team getting healthier, and since he took over in 2017, they've been top 10 in injury rate. We're pretty optimistic to get a number of our guys back. It's kind of tough because all those guys stay here this whole week and they rehab, so that's why I didn't want to really give an update on each one. We are hoping that most of them will come back, and we feel pretty good about that, but they have to have a good week here rehabbing, and we'll find out here when we get back on Monday. So it's not a sure thing that San Francisco is going to get all those players back, but at least some of them expected to rejoin the roster. And when you take a gander at the Niners' upcoming schedule, they are 4-4 right now. So 8 games played in the 17-game regular season schedule. Week 9 is their bye, which I think comes at a really good time. They return to play the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. Week 11 against the Cardinals in Mexico City. That's technically a road game, but we already know Niner fans are going to be storming Mexico City, and it's going to be an awesome environment. Week 12, they return home to Santa Clara against the New Orleans Saints. Week 13, they welcome in Mike McDaniel back to the Bay to take on the Miami Dolphins. After that, Tom Brady comes back to his hometown with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're really struggling up to this point, 3-5 on the year. Then it is a massive game, given how well the Seahawks have played this year on Thursday Night Football. That right there could decide the NFC West, which nobody had envisioned prior to this year because everybody thought Seattle was tanking and they were going to be bad. But let's keep it real, right? And I hate to say this, Pete Carroll, he's up for Coach of the Year right now. In their final 3 games of the regular season slate here in 2022, winnable game against the Commanders. The Raiders couldn't even get past midfield, got shut out against the New Orleans Saints last week. I don't think that Josh McDaniels is fit to be a head coach in this league. That's become clear with his stops in Denver and now with Las Vegas. And then they round out the year against a Cardinals team that I think at that point won't be in contention for a playoff spot. I think that Cliff Kingsbury is on the hot seat. I think Kyler Murray is a fraud, and frankly, I don't think that roster is all that good. So you just took a look at the remaining schedule for San Francisco going into this Week 9 bye. What will the Niners' record be? Right now, they are 4-4. You let me know right now in the comment section. When I think more and more about this, and when I scout teams across the NFC, from a talent perspective alone, when you look at some of the premier players on each of these rosters, I think the Philadelphia Eagles, who are still unbeaten, and the San Francisco 49ers are the 2 best teams in the NFC, and it's not really that close in terms of talent. I think these 2 teams are on a collision course for a potential meetup in the NFC Championship game. And that's saying a lot because I think the Minnesota Vikings aren't for real, even though they have 1 loss this year. The Cowboys have 2 losses, but the 49ers blasted them in the wild card round last year. And I think San Francisco would have an opportunity to take down the Philadelphia Eagles if they did meet in the playoffs. And I actually hope this is the matchup because I think it gives us the best viewing experience of the 2 top teams in this conference. Before we hop on out of here for this particular segment, Elon Musk, he's taken over Twitter, and he's sending out some messages out there that it could be $20 to keep your verification, maybe even $8 to keep your verification. I had that blue check mark. So before he puts these rules in stone, I want to let Elon Musk know that I'm legit. Help me out and give me a follow on Twitter at Chase_Senior so I don't lose that blue check mark, or hopefully I don't have to pay all that much to keep it because it does help me out with my professional life.